Good morning, everybody. We're starting this breakfast series with breakfast and networking. So for the first 15 minutes, you can all grab your breakfast now, it's all ready, and start eating and talk and get to know each other. And then I'll come back in 15 minutes with a real introduction and to introduce the speakers. Okay? Thanks, everybody. Good morning again, everybody. I'd like to thank you all for coming to the first breakfast in the Wake Up Newport Breakfast Series. This one is Local Roots, Local Revival. So the format is we have 3 speakers scheduled today, and at the end, they're each going to talk for 15 minutes, and at the end there'll be questions that are going to be very similar to legislative breakfast, where you come and say your name, state, your town, and then ask the questions. The first thing is I'd like to thank you all for coming. I'd also like to thank the East Side for this excellent food. And I'd also like to thank Casella and Jeremy Lambert for paying for all this excellent food. So let's give them a round of applause. I'd also like to give a thank you to Rotary for loaning us the equipment. As you can see by the podium, they have their name on the podium. So we'd like to thank you. I'd also like to thank Vermont's North Country Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this event, and also Kate Stallman and Donna for helping set this up and do all the heavy lifting in it. I'd also like to thank our speakers. Scheduled today is Dave Snedeker of NVDA, apologies. Rick Daniel of Vermont Small Business Development Center. Patrick Supranowitz, State Director of USDA Rural Development. And Kevin Lambert, the Public Affairs Specialist for USDA Rural Development. The first scheduled speaker is going to be Dave Snedeker. Dave Snedeker joined NVDA in 2003 and has served as a director since 2013. NVDA serves as both the Regional Planning Commission and Regional Development Corporation for the 3-county NEK region. And just so you know, you all get a handout of all the bios of all the speakers that are going to be speaking here today. So without further ado, we'll get Dave Snedeker here, our first speaker.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Kate, and the North Country Chamber for having this event. It seems like a nice one, probably a good way to kick off a nice series. So I have a presentation here on the board, but I also have handouts for everyone if you want to follow along that way. As Dan said, NVDA is the Regional Planning Commission and Regional Development Corporation for Caledonia, Essex, and Orleans counties and all the towns. Today, I'm going to speak mostly about our regional development services. We do a lot of work in planning, but that's mostly with municipalities and nonprofit organizations. Beginning with the presentation, I'll first talk about some state resources that are most commonly used by businesses in Vermont and our region as well. And the first slide being, did you get this one? Thank you. So the Vermont Employment Growth Incentive is one of Vermont's 2 primary economic development resources. The Employment Growth Incentive Program, otherwise known as VEGI, and there'll be a lot of acronyms you'll probably hear today. It's basically a program that seems to be utilized more by larger businesses, but it's a cash payment to a business based on the number of jobs created and capital investments. And a good example would be right now, Weidman down in St. Johnsbury is undergoing a $40 million expansion, which is going to create 60 new jobs. So plugging the job creation numbers and their capital investment into the veggie formula, they ended up getting a $2.3 million cash payment that they'll achieve after they actually create the jobs they say they're going to create. So other companies that have used the veggie program, aside from Wyman, we've had Vermont Aerospace, also down in St. Johnsbury. Companies up here that would be eligible should they ever decide to expand, built by Newport maybe, maybe North Country Hospital, JP, those sorts of businesses. So primarily a program for larger businesses. It's complicated. They do have a pre-application process that lets you, it's a simpler application to let you see how much your actual cash payment might be, and then you can decide then if you want to move forward with the fuller application. The next program for the state is the Vermont Training Program. And this program is to be used for training new employees or training existing employees if they're upscaling or something like that. And basically it's, you need to be paying a qualifying wage and offering a certain number of benefits to participate in the program, but it's utilized by businesses of all sizes. So if the hospital had a bunch of new people coming in or being trained on a new piece of equipment or something like that, they could certainly apply to the program. As could another company that was bought a large piece of equipment and needed to train employees on that. So it's a program for both new and existing businesses. The other program with the state is the State Trade Expansion Program, and this is for companies that wish to do exporting in Vermont or outside of Vermont. So you can, the state will pay you money to participate in trade shows and also to make your website designed more to be export friendly. And it's, again, you just work with the Agency of Commerce on that. I put the links to all these resources on the page. Next slide would be the Vermont APEX Accelerator. So this program is formerly known as PTAC, which was Procurement and Technical Assistance Program. And that is a program to set businesses up who want to do business or bid on state contracts, state or federal contracts. And that is a very active program. So we have to think about contractors in our region like JPC Card or anybody who's doing work for the state or a federal business. You basically get set up in a system that allows you to bid on opportunities that the government puts out. So it's a very, very good program for contractors and businesses like that. And then the last thing that's important for businesses in the region, especially if you're in a designated downtown, which Newport has, or a designated village center, which so many other smaller villages have, are the state and federal tax credit programs. So there are tax credits available to businesses in those designated areas that are doing facade improvements or code improvements to their properties. And a tax credit is essentially an offset that if you have a tax liability and you do these improvements to your building and you have these credits, you can take it to a bank and then offset your tax liability. So it's very good, and actually NVDA has people on staff that help write these applications for the businesses. So I think last year we had probably 20 tax credit awards statewide, about half were in our region, and it was our staff helping, so it's a good program. Next slide. So I'll talk about some of the NVDA business resources, and these are great resources that we have usually every year. We're waiting on some of these right at present. One is the USDA Small Business Technical Assistance Grant Program. So the way that works is NVDA applies to USDA for money to provide assistance to businesses on a cost-sharing basis to obtain professional services. So let's say a business wants to do a website. We would have money to help share that cost with the business, and the business could bring in a professional firm that helps you do that. But you can also do it for engineering services, architecture, marketing, a wide number of professional services that a business may need to obtain. It's a very popular program. And right now we have an application outstanding that we have not yet heard on from USDA. Typically we would know by now, but I think we should be hearing something soon. The other program we have is NVDA has a couple of small business revolving loan funds. So our program in particular is good for the purchase of real estate or equipment and also operating capital. One requirement is that we cannot be the only lender, so the business needs to be working with another lender, and then we participate as well. And we have the ability to vary interest rate and terms to below market rents or interest rates, and then we can vary the term as well. Not a very active program, but we do help 2 or 3 businesses a year. The other loan program that we have is through, well, I'll get to that in a second. Next slide. NBD also has industrial parks. We have a business park in St. Johnsbury, Linden. We have one in Hardwick, but it's pretty much fully occupied with value-added food-producing businesses. So we do have land available for businesses that are interested in expanding or coming to the area. We also own a multi-tenant building in that same park. That would be Charles Carter Business Resource Center. So we have, it's currently fully occupied, but on occasion we do have space available for leasing. And then NVDA also works with a number of local realtors. When we have businesses interested in coming to the region, I work with people like Ryan, Pronto, and Nick McClure, talking about looking for commercial space. So it's good to keep the local contacts. That way when we have companies interested, I know what's available. And they'll come to me with similar things, saying we have a person who has a property, and do you have a tenant for us? And then we help that way as well. Last thing I'll mention for our program is our brownfield assessment program. So that's one of our more popular programs. So we've had grants from the EPA to do brownfield assessment activities. Basically, that is what is needed before, if a business is interested in purchasing a commercial property, a lot of times your lender would say, are there any environmental conditions at that site? So we use our EPA dollars to pay for that phase 1 environmental site assessment, which is basically a historic review of the property. And then sometimes it says, well, we may need a phase 2 assessment, which is more invasive testing, such as soil sampling, materials testing, things like that. But giving the business that money to do the assessment is early dollars that the business won't have to put out, and it gives them the liability protection in case something is found. Along with that assessment program, we also have a low-interest loan program for cleanup if that's necessary. So our loans for businesses are 1%, and we have up to about $1 million to lend. And the last pieces I'll mention are our partnerships. So we partner with entities like the Vermont Small Business Development Center, who you'll hear from Rick here later on, so I won't talk too much about that. But when we are contacted by smaller businesses or startup businesses, one of our first steps is always to refer them to the Vermont Small Business SBDC. Other groups that we work with are the Vermont Employee Ownership Center. So if you have a business that's in a transitional phase, whether it's selling the business to family members, to a third party, or to employees, this is a good group to contact, and they can help you with valuations and things like that to make sure that the transition happens smoothly. Another entity we work with, and they're a fee-for-service organization, is the Vermont Manufacturing Extension Center. So they work with businesses on like lean processing and efficiencies, operations, lean manufacturing, things like that. So usually technical in origin, but they bring in their process engineers who work with the business to improve flow and things like that. And then the last group I'll mention is the Vermont Economic Development Authority, and they're basically a statewide lending institution. A lot of times they'll partner with our local commercial banks, where they can work with the business directly, including with us as well. And they provide all sorts of businesses, whether it's loans to agricultural businesses, manufacturing is one of their key lending partners. And then sometimes for energy projects for renewable energy. So I'll stop there since we have some other speakers, but take any questions. Do you want those now, Dave?
No, the questions after.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. So our next speaker is going to be Rick Danielle, Business Advisor, Northeast Kingdom, Vermont Small Business Development Center. With over 25 years of experience in change management, project leadership, and small business strategy, Rick helps entrepreneurs across Vermont's Northeast Kingdom start, grow, and transition businesses. And he has a much more in-depth bio on the sheet. So thank you, Rick.
Morning, I'm going to stretch a little bit so I can see where we are on the slides here. Everybody hear me okay? Quick poll before we get started. Who's heard of the Vermont Small Business Development Center? Few hands? Oh, good. Excellent. Well, what I'd like to do today is kind of give you a little bit deeper understanding of who we are, what we do, and then about halfway through my slides, we're going to do a little pivot, and we're going to talk about some of the folks that we work with as so here we go. I got a number of slides. The first part I'm going to go pretty quickly, so if I'm going too fast, let me know. We are part of a larger organization, so just about every state in the union has an organization like our group. I was actually just 2 weeks ago at a conference for the Americas SBDC, and some of the stats are just so impressive I had to put them in here. About 2/3 of all of our clients are starting a new business, which is pretty cool. 80,000 new jobs last year as a result of our activities with companies. You can see the numbers in sales, and most importantly, about 6.5 billion in capital access. So that's working with clients, helping them get prepared for lending conversations, getting their businesses off the ground. I thought that was pretty impressive. For us, as a business support organization, we provide no fee advising, so there's no cost whatsoever to businesses. We do one-on-one confidential advising, so everything we talk about is strictly confidential. And we work across the whole state. So we were talking earlier, Kevin and I, about the life cycle. So it's everything from, hey, I've got an idea, I don't know if this is going to fly or not, to I've been running my business for 20 years, it's time for me to get out. This is our team, small team. We've got about 7 advisors that cover the whole state. 70% of our clients are in business, 30% working on getting there. Our results, statewide, if you will, we've had 531 individual clients being advised through 2024, about $10 million in new capital infused into businesses, 25 new business starts, and about 240 new jobs. So, you know, small group, but impactful, very impactful. Myself, I've been working with the SBDC for about 2.5 years now. Came in from a bit larger organization, but throughout my career, I've been a project manager, worked in the IT space, helped a lot of businesses kind of get started and whatnot. I did work for here at Green Mountain for a while, worked for the state of Vermont, Kelly Services, so I've had a lot of different experiences and got to that point in my career where it's kind of time to give back to the community. So hopefully I'm providing some of that stuff back. We're a little clipped off here, but fun fact, I'm an avid astrophotographer. So deep sky objects, nebulas, star formations. If it's dark and clear, I'm in the back here. Couple of items, and this will be in your packet as well, what we do versus what we don't do. We're not lenders. We're not licensed legal professionals. We're not accountants. But all of our group has had those experiences throughout their career and are positioned to give some advice, guidance, share those experiences with business owners. So one thing that we do offer is we have lots of contacts. It's mind-boggling, the contacts. So if a business is struggling with what do I do here, what do I do there, we can tap into our contacts and usually get folks connected in that way. The other thing I do want to put a plug in for is our website. We just completely retooled the website, so lots of great content. If you're looking, it's right out there. Just Google VT SBDC, and it'll come right up. There's templates, there's tools. You can see our bios out there. So just a great resource. All right, let's do a little pivot. So we talked a lot about our organization, who we are, what we do, some of our stats. Last little bit, I want to kind of introduce you to 4 typical clients. These are not the real clients. We can go ahead one. But these folks represent stories. So these are AI-generated folks. So don't look for them in the crowd. I mentioned we're all confidential. So this is a representation of actual clients. So our first one is Matt. If you go forward here. Yeah, it's a little clipped off, but Matt came in, he had a passion around heavy equipment, doing projects and whatnot. Wanted to start his own business, quickly into the advising engagement. His personal finances, his business finances were just all mashed together. So we worked hard to kind of separate that, set Matt up with a business plan, set of projections, got him directionally pointed, and now he's got his equipment, he's got running a business, actually quite successful today. So you can see how we kind of steered Matt towards a successful path. Next one we've got here is Sarah. Sarah came to us, she was struggling a little bit, she knew she wanted to be in business, she wasn't really sure what she wanted to do, to be honest. She had a few passions, we talked through it for quite a bit. She was actually looking to take out a loan, but she wasn't sure what for. So we talked through it a lot. She ended up deciding to take a little pause. Actually, she's going back to school, amping up her skills a little bit, trying to gain her own self-clarity as to what she wants to do. So even though it didn't result in a business start, I think that was the right thing for that particular case. Let's see, who do we have here? Oh, Jenny, yes. Jenny was came to us with a great passion to start a bookstore, small bookstore. She had a lot of her ducks in a row. However, she had some credit issues, wasn't the best credit. We worked through that. We tried some creative things. Actually, she came to the realization that this is all well and good. I've got good solid plan, but maybe just not now. So she decided to kind of put it on pause for a couple of years. Then we'll dust it off when she's a little bit better prepared. So that was a good one. And then our last one, I think a lot of folks can relate to this one, flood recovery issues. This gentleman lost a fair amount of land during the floods, had some equipment issues, completely turned his world upside down. So we worked through the disaster recovery piece with them. Actually, I'm meeting with him this afternoon as well. So he's pointed in the right direction. He's got a new property in mind. He's got all the approvals set up. He's ready to go. So just a few quick stories that kind of give you a feel for how we work with individuals, business owners, to kind of advance them to the next level. All right, last slide. So my ask, if you know of any folks that are working at their business, want to start a business, have questions, I've got some parts, definitely reach out to us. We're here to help. Nobody has to be in business alone. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick. It's quite unusual for me with speakers that are actually finishing ahead of time. With the legislators, it tends to go the other way.
Cruising right along.
The next pair of speakers are from the USDA. Patrick Sopranowitz,
Nailed it.
State Director of USDA Rural Development in Vermont and New Hampshire. And then there's Kevin Lambert, Public Affairs Specialist, Rural Development, Vermont and New Hampshire. And he has his phone number on there if you want to call him. He said 5 o'clock on Sunday mornings is perfect.
Thank you for inviting me and Patrick here. We are very happy to be here, despite the early hour. I think it makes for a nice aesthetic, actually. And, Patrick was stuck behind a tractor trailer in the fog, so there's a nice little ambiance that I would love to take some pictures of after. My name is Kevin Lambert. I'm Public Relations for USDA Rural Development. Part of my job is taking pictures, but part of it is showing up here as really an imposter, an interloper, a farce, because the people who really do the hard work for our agency are the ones who are at work right now. And they're doing some really complex financing for any number of communities and small businesses in our jurisdiction of Vermont and New Hampshire. A number of things to talk about, just some qualifiers and disclaimers right off the bat. A number of our programs, people have asked us, are we going to have funding for certain things in the new year, the new fiscal year? And the simple answer is we simply don't know, and we won't know until those appropriations are hammered out, and that'll either result in a continuing resolution or a new budget, or we hope not, a stoppage. But those are the three eventualities. We have this happen every year, and so we will have more to tell you hopefully by the middle of October or thereabouts, and then we'll have a clearer idea of what kind of programs and what funding levels we'll have. So I know, because Patrick runs into these questions quite a bit when he goes out in the field, and we don't know until then. So we didn't do a paper version of our presentation, but the takeaway I really want you all to have is my phone number, and really that's the most important thing. It's 802-318-3687. My name's Kevin Lambert. You can go online, just do a simple search string. You'll come to my name and contact me. The reason I want you to contact me is because I'm kind of the funnel and the filter for making sure that the deals that our people are working on are viable and valid. And so I do a little bit of general vetting at the top of the funnel, we call it, so that if we do have an idea and we think it's feasible to engage one of our programs, then I can kind of send it down to the subject matter experts, and then they'll take it from there and get their hands dirty in that particular deal. So we're going to start with just kind of an overview of our agency, the structure, and where rural development lies within the greater USDA apparatus, the mothership we call it sometimes. It's a really big agency. Rural development is one of roughly 20 sub-agencies. And so it's important to know what we can and can't do. We can always refer you to our sister agencies, state agencies, nonprofit, community and economic development corporations like NVDA. We work with Dave quite a bit. We have around $3.5 million of investments in Newport, in the North Country, since 2017. So we are highly active here. Newport is one of those kind of representative municipalities and communities that we like to kind of put on a pedestal and see what the possibilities are for communities like Newport, like St. Johnsbury. So without further ado, I'm going to hit the presentation. I'll let Patrick come up. We're going to talk about housing and community development first, because of course that is a big part of business and economic development, and then we'll get into some of our business-focused programs. Know that these are not all of the programs. This is not a comprehensive presentation, but these are the ones that we work with more frequently and more substantially than others. So thank you for your time. Again, thank you for allowing us to be here. I'm honored to be here, and we'll get going with the presentation. Thank you.
I'm going to kind of bring this up here just to mirror, so I'm not doing this the whole time. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. My name's Patrick, as Kevin said. So a little bit of background about me. I've been in this role since May. I come from a background in real estate, technology. Rural development is something that I've kind of had a little bit of a hand in. As far as I work a lot with multifamily. That was a big, exciting thing for me to come into with this. And I won't go into too much detail. Multifamily's kind of got moved to a national level, so we focus a lot on single family right now. But we are looking at a lot of different options, so we may get that back. But a little bit of background on me, like I said, originally real estate, and then I was raised in the White Mountains over in New Hampshire. So grew up in a rural community, 327 year-round residents, so I can totally appreciate the small town vibe, and kind of really cool for me to come back and be able to serve the people that raised me as my neighbors. So, as Kevin said, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about kind of the general background of rural development and what we do in our branch here at USDA. First question, just for my own knowledge, how many people are super familiar with rural development? medium familiar with rural development. No idea what rural development does. All right, that's a good sign. Cool, awesome. Perfect. So our mission at Rural Development is we're committed to helping improve the economy and quality of life in rural America. It is pretty much that simple for us. That's my biggest priority. That is our mission. Next one. So as Kevin said, we've got some kind of different departments within. So our business programs, our housing programs, and our community programs. Those are our main three fundamentals that we break it down into. We have more than 50 grant and loan guarantee opportunities that support economic development in rural areas. So a little bit about business programs, that might be like a value add for a small business, help with marketing. Our housing programs, we'll get into these a little bit later, but 504 repair loans or grants for a new home. Our community programs, we get into dealing with like municipalities. So I'll use an example of my hometown, Thornton. Actually, prior to me getting here, we had a grant for some repeater equipment because up in the mountains, the fire department needed that equipment to better communicate. So it can be all the way down to that. It can be a new fire truck, or Town of Meredith asked me for a new fire boat. Actually, since we're on the lake. All right, and then we'll skip to the next one for that one because I think that touches on that. So again, as Kevin said, approximately 20 of 18 sub-agencies, 7 mission areas. We are one big mothership. I'll let you guys read some of these, but food and safety, food nutrition, natural resources, farm and agricultural, research and education, market and regulatory programs. But for us, with rural development, we've got those 3 major ones. We also have rural utility services, rural housing services, and rural business cooperative services.
I just wanted to point out, because this is not intuitive. So in the previous slide, our organization and points of primary focus are housing, business, and community development. So these 3 agencies, RUS, RHS, and RBS, it's actually RBCS, they are listed as sub-agencies under USDA, but they essentially operate through rural development. Okay, it's not intuitive. Our community facilities programs and housing programs are under rural housing service. Now, our water and waste programs and solid waste management, that is the water and environmental programs, we call it WET, that's under rural utilities service. Okay, and then our business programs are under RBCS. So we have 3 sister agencies. They're sub-agencies. They don't operate really as singular entities. They operate through us, and they deviate kind of in staggered ways under the 3 areas that we serve. Just that doesn't really mean anything for folks in this room. I want to illustrate for you how it works in the federal government and how things are designated. And that's why our community facilities money does not play well with our housing money. We can't combine those 2 funding resources. So our community facilities money can't go towards, say, a multifamily housing unit. Right? That's something that's important to understand. All right? So the government has a very specific way of making sure that those pools are separate. And I keep telling that to Patrick, and he keeps telling me, yeah, but we're going to change that. and I love him for that, because he looks at the regulations and he says, well, let's go deeper down in the Farm Bill. Maybe we can change that. Maybe we can get those 2 things to kind of get in the same arena and play with each other. And I hope that he proves me wrong. So we'll see as the regulations come under scrutiny what will happen. But I just wanted to throw that out there and make sure you understand.
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, Kevin does do a good job of kind of keeping me in line with I'm very idealistic, I guess, ideological. And so he does a very good job of saying, no, this is where we're at now. And I'm like, yeah, but we could do this. And I'll take that opportunity to kind of touch on, my background coming from the private sector, being sort of first time into government, it's an interesting experience to me to see kind of how many things you flow through, to get something done. And so I think I say that because we're in a very unique time where we've shaken a lot up, and there's a lot of opportunity. So one of the things Kevin and I do is we go around and we host roundtables, and it's been very important to me to kind of like hear feedback from people. So I know this isn't really a roundtable, but I will offer that later in the morning. If you want to come talk to me about that, you know, we're sort of in a position of what would you like to see happen. So I'm trying to stay kind of general with it, just because we don't know what it's going to look like. But yes, to Kevin's point, thank you for steering me back there. All right, do we want to go to the next slide to talk a little bit about kind of what we have for services and what we help? Cool. All right, so again, I don't need to read all these to you guys, but you know, 50 grand loan guarantee programs. I'll touch on a few that are really important to me. So like, you know, senior housing and childcare, that's a really big one. Vermont, New Hampshire, I mean, it's all across the country, but we have a big housing crisis. You know, so I think when you get kind of communities involved where you're able to provide childcare, somebody's able to, you know, go to work, you know, they become more self-sufficient with being able to afford that home. The senior care, obviously, we take care of our senior citizens. I'm a big, was very into art when I was in high school, so the recreation, arts, and entertainment. I was also a big outdoors person, so when we get into things, being able to you know, put money into something that can actually have a big impact, sort of as a catalyst for a community. Kevin, can I use the Franklin Park? Is that okay? All right. So we had an example in Franklin, New Hampshire. It's an old mill town. So we put some money into a white water park, which is kind of like it's half man-made, half nature, and they have like a whitewater river kayaking center. And so just that sort of outdoor and entertainment factor. I mean, for us up here in the North Country, it's a big part of our tourism, it's a big part of our GDP. So that right there actually just alone brought in private investment and is revitalizing the town of Franklin. So for me, that's kind of how I look at things. It's a very big picture. What can we do with like one little pilot light or catalyst that has a bigger impact on the community? Those are sort of the ways that I'm looking to move forward with. And then everything up to electric and broadband, that kind of ties in a little bit to another thing for me is our community centers. So, you know, everything from telehealth, getting broadband to these rural communities is a really important thing. I mean, again, I grew up in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, so I don't think I had, I'm pretty sure we had dial-up when I remember the tone when we put it that. So, you know, kind of you know, getting that communication to people, you know, it helps with telework too. So, you know, some of these more rural communities, if they have the opportunity to work remote, we want to do that. You know, the waste or water and waste management is a big one that we're dealing with right now as well. And then I talked about, you know, public services and facilities. That's been something that I've really stepped out and gone to these municipalities and said, you know, what do you need from us? You know, they're obviously really important to our communities, especially in, you know, Vermont. We're all, you know, these really small rural communities, a lot of volunteers. So, did I miss anything there, Kevin?
No, you're good.
Okay, next one.
Go to
Talk about a couple examples.
504.
Okay, perfect. Yep, so I mentioned it earlier, our 504 grant. I won't read this verbatim to you guys, but I'll touch on a few things. So the applicant eligibility, you know, the idea behind it is to be able to maintain safe and affordable housing and sanitary housing for people in these rural communities. Your loan is up to 61 years old, up to 1% interest rate up to $40,000. For the loan for the grant, 62 years old above, there are post-disaster waivers. I'll touch on that a little bit too. I am part of the Disaster Assistance Fund Committee. It's another 3-letter acronym. So part of that one as well. So I know like Vermont has $31 million in disaster assistance that's kind of sitting there for us. So looking to push that through. Let's see, so a couple of these on the left, these are some of the income limits. So they do have an income limit on average for the community. So you can see Northeast Kingdom, $47,500, Lamoille, Orange, Rockland, and Wyndham. Much of the Burlington area, really super relevant, but is not eligible for the 504 based off of size, population, income levels. All right.
On 502.
Thank you. It's not going for me. Hold on. Bear with me.
And you'll notice these are you'll see urban populations that would be redded out, and there are certain tracts in Burlington that are eligible, but you would need to go online to the map and search the address that you're interested in to verify, and then of course we can do that through our office as well. Again, this is low-income housing, safe, secure housing for people who are looking to get into the market. This is not an equity play. Okay, this program is one that you would eventually graduate out of to get into a commercial product, because the government will recapture. It's called recapture at the end of the term or whenever the owner wants to sell, because there's no down payment with this product. So that's how people can get into the housing market.
Good news. Got that. Sorry. I was about to just take that and come out. All right. So single-family housing direct home loans, that's 502. So again, not going to read it all verbatim, but it is to assist low-income residents in obtaining decent, safe, and sanitary housing in the eligible rural areas. So you got to make sure that the market value does not exceed the area loan limit. You can see on the left, it is open year-round. 1 to 4 residents, it's $398,000 for these counties, and then $414,000 for Chittenden. Can you say that? Okay, Chittenden. Thank you. I was going to say there's a lot of these towns up here. I'm doing my best to. We've got a few over New Hampshire too. So, and then Franklin and Great Isle. Again, the Burlington area. That's what Kevin was just saying. You see some of these areas are redded out. You must. So one of the biggest things for the applicant eligibility is you must occupy the property as a primary residence. Have the legal capacity to incur a loan obligation and meet the citizenship or eligible non-citizen requirements. Haven't been disbarred from any federal programs as well.
And our specialists will go to the level of helping people improve or better make their credit potentially better. So it's not part of the job, but our specialists are good like that. They'll help people get in a position where they need to be.
Yes. Community ones? Okay. All right, so this is the community facilities ones that I was touching on a little bit earlier. A few project examples, which I think I mentioned as well. Healthcare and dental facilities. So it's not just these municipalities, but healthcare and dental facilities. You know, the rural health is really important. The child care centers, it is police and fire departments, public works vehicles. I've been on a few where a few of these inspections actually, I try to get out in the field a lot. So, you know, examples of a new public works building. You know, something, you've got a building that's falling apart. You know, it's where they keep their plows, their sand and all that stuff. So we had an example over northern New Hampshire, brand new building. We helped fund for that.
We're going to get going on these. We need to
Keep speeding it up?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. All right, I'll vaguely run through these then. All right, on the wastewater. All right, so another one's wastewater disposal loans. So they're drinking water sourcing, sewer collection, solid waste collection, and stormwater collection. So the grant funding, max 45% for 10,000 and fewer. The median household income as a percentage of state average has to be below 90%. And then, yeah, let's run through these, Kevin. So we've got a few more of these. We have the Rural Energy for America program, the REAP program. It's still in good standing right now. So funding uses anything from purchasing or installing HVAC and insulation, doors and windows, electric and solar. I know that's that's why I wanted to jump to this one. It's a bit of a hot topic right now. So, you know, I've dealt with a few things where if it's got the wrong language in it, it's getting scrutiny. So, you know, what I'm working on right now is helping with these future ones. If we look at sort of the language of, it's green energy, it's clean energy, that kind of stuff. So I want to help navigate those things. I actually came across an example of one where it was actually rescinded, and then I read through the loan and it was like, I don't think this was rescinded properly. So it's not really my place to argue that right now. But what I'm trying to do is help people navigate that for the future.
This is our most popular business program. This is for small businesses, farmers, producers, anybody who has a business that has space for, say, solar panels or needs improvement to their envelope to drive down costs, energy costs. So REAP is very, very popular. and then RVDGs. And these go not directly to the business, they go through a nonprofit like NVDA. NVDA will then help small businesses in the area. If the business, if it's a nonprofit, say like a snowmobile club, you can get money through RVDG for groomers, that kind of thing, but this is to help stimulate business in small communities.
Yes, thanks, Kevin. Sorry, I'm still having the technical issues. I suppose I don't need to. We're in a small room. All right, really quickly to finish this up. I don't take too much more time. All right, should you just cover that next one?
Yep.
So the value-added producer grant. So this is helping agricultural producers. This is something I touched on, helping with expanding marketing. It's a big one for me. I had a little bit of a marketing background in college, so I can totally understand the value of bringing to a small business and saying, hey, like let's help you get the website up. Let's help you kind of push your products. So that's a really important one to me. I think we're all up in this area. The small business community is obviously super important. So finding those ways to just that little extra push over the edge that can really help help get that going. You want to keep going? Yeah. All right. So business and industry loans, eligible lenders to help businesses grow. So these are like the cooperatives. So some of our partners that we work with, where the nonprofits, the co-ops that will help kind of get the smaller dollars out to the businesses. So talk a little bit about like for example, eligible lenders. So federal banks, state chartered banks, savings and loan, farm credit bureaus, credit unions, they have to have the direct lending authority.
And this is a way to leverage commercial loans. So a loan guarantee from the government will give you the ability as a small business to receive more money from your commercial lender. So it's a security play that gives you maybe a longer term, maybe a better deal.
That's perfect. Thank you. All right. Yes.
So before I begin the Q&A, I just got a couple announcements because I know as soon as it's over, you're all running out the door. You're not going to listen to anything else I say. Just kidding. The next breakfast, Wake Up Newport, will be Tourism as a Catalyst on October 20th, Monday. Speakers will be announced and emailed out to everybody. We are still looking for sponsors for the events. So please contact me if you know anyone who's interested in sponsoring any of the 3 remaining events in the Wake Up Newport series. I also want to announce that on September 27th, we have the Chili Fest in downtown Newport that is also a chamber-sponsored event. We'd love everyone to come there and eat a bunch of chili, or even if you'd like to, you can even compete and make some chili and bring it and give it to everybody. So, just wanted to make that announcement. Now we are beginning the question and answer session. So please, if you want to ask a question, please come up, state your name, where you're from, ask your question, and who it's addressed to. It could be addressed to any one or all of our speakers. So with that being said, who would like to be the first one to ask a question? I see a woman coming up here already. And please get to the question. You're allowed 1 or 2 sentences to lay the groundwork for your question, but then please get to your question promptly. Thank you.
Lori Graham, resident of Newport. So my first question is actually for Rick, and my second question will be for either Patrick or Kevin. So Rick, I'm familiar with small business development, but recently I was having some conversations with some community members, and they are home businesses looking to expand. Have you ever considered, or do you do workshops where you go into the community and have people come as a group to learn about your business? Because they didn't seem to have any kind of connection. So that would be my question for you, and then I'll just go ahead and ask the next question. I'm wondering about the grant program for homeowners that you talked about for low income. Are those personal loans, or Are those business loans to people who are building low-income housing? I'm just trying to understand that.
Sorry, no, so yeah, that's a personal one. So yeah, it's direct to.
So normally after the question, we'll have the speakers come on and answer. So Rick, we'll go first. And normally we try to do one at a time, so we're new here. It's all right, it's our first one, so.
Perfect. Well, thank you. That's a great question, actually. And yes, we actually do some local workshops. And in fact, we're partnering with Sept Bank starting in October 20th, I believe. We've got a small business incubator series. So it's a series of 4 two-hour workshops on Monday evening. That'll take us all the way through business planning, marketing, access to capital, financial, legal, and then the last one is around user experiences. So we've got a couple of local businesses that have gone through that journey to come in and talk about that. That's coming right up. I think you're going to see more and more of these because we're hearing from our clients. They want more in kind of a group setting. So stay tuned on that note. I'm actually kind of pulling pieces together around an artificial intelligence for small business workshop. So I know that's a hot topic today. Definitely some opportunities there for small businesses to take advantage of AI. So great question. Hopefully I answered that.
Thank you, Rick. Patrick, if you can just come in for a minute and elaborate on the.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty simple answer, but yeah, it's so it is direct to the individual. So we do have, like, when I touched on the multifamily, just to expand on this a little bit, that's for more of like a developer. But when we get into single family homes, that's direct to the consumer. So yeah.
And is that something that you can find out locally here, or they would just call?
Yeah. So if you go on to Kevin, our website,
rd.usda.gov.
yeah, and you can check eligibility based off of income, based off of area, your locality and stuff like that, and it'll walk you through. And then, and two, I think we do a pretty good job of helping guide people. Colleen Ledoux is our housing programs director. And she's got a wonderful staff that will really kind of walks you through whether or not there's eligibility there, and do everything we can to guide you in the right direction. So, yeah.
And the reason we put the housing slide in the business environment is just because it's so crucial and overlaps so highly with business development.
Thank you.
Next question. Donnie, you faked me out by getting up. I thought you were going to ask a question.
I noticed that as I was getting up, I'm like,
All right.
Mine's pretty quick. Is this the information you give to the other towns to say come here?
Me.
I go to the Brownington, Holland, Troy, the other ones, and say here.
Oh, I have a flyer for you.
All right, just
So, okay. So, his question was just on how to invite other people from other towns to come to these breakfasts in the future.
Yes.
And we have a flyer that we can hand out do we have copies of it?
I might have run out of copies.
Well, we've run out of copies.
If you're on the email list, you'll be getting the flyer. So make sure you sign up if you didn't sign up when you came in.
And just as a context of this whole series that we're doing, part of the things with our new revitalization of the chamber is we're trying to incorporate a lot of these programs, they're both for individuals and businesses, into the chamber to help communicate and get them out to the people that it might be most beneficial to. Something that's been a little difficult or challenging here in this area in the past.
So will you put this slide deck up on the Chamber of Commerce website? This we're just going through, because that'd be the easy way of doing this out.
So we are working on our website right now, and there is some hurdles in there. So it won't be able to do that, but what I can do is any of those slide presentations that have been sent to me, I'll send them out to all the email, to everyone on the email address who's on our series, and we will eventually get it onto the website. Eventually. Come on. There you go.
Usually very shy to get out here, but I'll ask. Probably
in for the rural development, are you only working with nonprofits for multifamily? Or are you working with developers?
I gotta come up with ways to like elaborate more on this, but the short answer to your question is no, developers as well. I will say this, that in our department, because we don't have multifamily at the state level anymore, it's a national level. If that's something you wanted to inquire more about, I would be able to put you in touch with somebody in the national office who would handle that specifically for the multifamily side.
Thank you.
Thank you. I actually have a question about the solar panels and that stuff. Is that also for people that may own large amounts of property? Is it also for, like, example, the Chamber of Commerce, our Welcome Center? Are those things, and if you could elaborate maybe on those programs a bit, please?
Sure. And I'll elaborate a little bit of a caveat to it.
I'll elaborate a little bit of the caveat. So there's been some conversation from the Secretary's level of, so you guys are, if you're familiar with it, you know, when solar panels go down on prime ag land, you know, you're talking about large spaces of land, right? You know, it tends to never come back to agricultural land. We have a secretary right now who's very, you know, obviously she's Secretary of Agriculture, but, you know, comes from Texas, you know, big farms and stuff like that. So I don't really want to speculate too much on the large land aspects of it, because to be honest, and Kevin, if you want to talk about the history maybe a little bit more, I'm talking about it from like what I'm hearing on calls and from DC, is that we're kind of trying to prevent the large, you know, large spaces of land from getting, you know, populated with solar panels. I will tell you the one specific case that I heard that about though was it was in Illinois, and it was a gentleman who was getting a grant for, I forget how many hundreds of acres, but his premise behind the whole thing was mining Bitcoin. So that kind of threw up a bit of a red flag, and they were like, "Yeah, no, we're going to put a stop to that, and sort of revisit it." So large land, not 100% sure on that. I just don't know yet. But for the Chamber of Commerce, like on as long as you're on like roofs and stuff like that. Yeah. And Kevin can talk about the history.
Just to clarify, so REAP it's a business program. Money does go directly to small businesses. This is not a pass-through. It doesn't go to nonprofits. Nonprofits can benefit from energy efficiency projects through our community facilities programs. So community facilities can come into a building and provide more insulation, get you new doors and windows, drive down energy costs, replace a boiler if you have an inefficient boiler. So community facilities money is available for that. Where you want to avoid kind of the sunk cost of too much energy and effort going into not enough payoff is that community facilities dollars, conventionally discretionary funding through the program itself, the bang for your buck is going to be through equipment and ancillary furnishings, for instance, or energy efficiency products. The real, you know, like seven-figure kind of money you can get from that grant program is through CDS, that's congressionally directed spending. So you would write a letter to Ballant or Sanders or Welch to say, hey, I have a community project, I want to get some big grant money to build that capital stack. Through regular rural development, community facilities money goes towards radios and communication equipment for the Newport Fire Department. I think that happened. There were all sorts of upgrades and improvements done at North Country High School through community facilities. So, Rural Energy for America program, think business, just business. Community facilities, think nonprofit. And then there's also that rural development, RBDG, Rural Business Development Grant, that's also through nonprofits. Nonprofits then administer to the businesses of the community. I know it's confusing how this money flows, but our two direct-to-business programs that are most popular and are used most frequently are REAP, Rural Energy for America program, and Value-Added Producer program. That's the last slide that we showed you, and that goes towards marketing and product development for small producers.
Thank you. Thank you. Another question from our audience. Pam.
Pam Newport. It's not a question, it's a comment. Those of you who use artificial intelligence to present something to us.
This is format page just for questions, please.
Okay.
No comments.
Okay. I'll comment.
I was going to ask if the AI development on theirs, and just if you could speak a moment on how AI is affecting your jobs. Anyone?
You take that one?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So AI is definitely something that's, that we all know is coming and is being utilized. Actually, as I was at the national conference just recently, there was a whole track around AI and how that's changing the way folks are utilizing the technology today. Everything from marketing to invoice processing to just understanding your business. I was recently on a webinar with the Maine SBDC, and they had a really good speaker on there that was talking about AI. And there were some folks that were, kind of reluctant and not quite sure, but we had one small business that came on and said, hey, I just started talking to AI, chatting with AI about my business. And the information that they got back just elevated their level of understanding of their markets, their efficiency, just a lot of different ways that it can be utilized. So it is a new technology. It's got to keep a human in the loop. We heard that a lot as I was going through a lot of the seminar and courses. But I look at it as an accelerator. So you can utilize it to really move things along a lot quicker. But key point, you got to look at it. You can't just take it verbatim. I was recently doing a chart for a client, a flow chart, and I thought it was a real simple task for AI. I gave it the prompt, created a great picture. I started looking at it, and the two main flows came to the same spot. It's like, time out, this is not going to work. So it's a fast tool, it helps, but you got to look at it. So, if that helps,
Great. Next question.
Chet Greenwood, I live in Derby. Just a general question. If I'm out of state and I'm driving up through Main Street and I see 8 or 10 empty stores, and I said, wow, maybe I can start a business here, a restaurant or a retail store. And I just heard about 30 different agencies where I can borrow money and get help. But if somebody's coming in from out of town, where is the central point? Who do I go to? Do I go down and see Dave at NEK-TV and start there? Or is there somebody in Newport? Is there some place where we can have that information? The information, both the chamber or our website. Somebody coming in town could say, well, where do I start? So.
Thank you. That's an excellent question. We'll open it. Now, just so you know, there's another entity. There's the Newport Downtown Development Corporation also, along with the chamber. And that is something big picture-wise that we are looking to help and develop so a person can come to a one-stop shop and get in contact with all these people. And it's kind of an overview of what we're progressing towards, at least. But I'll ask Rick.
Sure. Another great question. And actually, this question strikes a chord with me because, as I mentioned, I've been doing this work for SBDC for about 2.5 years. So that's a common question. It's so convoluted. Where do I go for what? So one of the initiatives that our group is currently working on, we're not quite there yet, but some sort of central database for these financial products, because it's very diverse. And if we could utilize some sort of querying around, I've got a business, this is the initiative, this is what they're looking to do,
give me a list of potential lending sources. That's something that we're pushing towards because it is very confusing. There are so many different agencies. It's tough to navigate. That being said, our organization can help on that front a bit. We've got a listing of different financial sources depending on what the need is, whether it's venture capitalist, traditional lending, SBA. There's a lot of different options, and it's very unique case by case. Hopefully that helps out.
One of the qualities and characteristics about Vermont that you learn quickly when you start this work is that different states operate through different apparatuses. Typically, and I say typically meaning for larger states, most larger states, there is a county government that acts as the liaison between federal funding and the municipalities and communities who need it. In Vermont, as Dave knows well, our county governments, I mean, we have certain county organizations, but by and large, the way we manage federal funds is through our nonprofits, through our economic development corps, nonprofit entities and organizations who administer those, and of course our state agencies who administer those funds as best they can. And so this requires a lot of coordination. It requires a lot of cross-coordination, not top-down, but emergent, kind of bottom-up. And so a simple answer to your very good question is that you're doing it right now. This is it. This is an occasion that these people, their prescience and their planning have put together for exactly this purpose, for people to come to learn about where they start. And so I'm sure, Dave, I'm sure you have any number of events where it's kind of geared towards the same thing. Hey, general public, come meet us. What do you want to do? These are idea organizations. You take ideas, you mold them, you cultivate them, and you put them into manifested economic stimulation. So the short answer is that there's really no central place where you'd go to say, start your journey as a small business. But the economic development corporations in Vermont are so coordinated and people know each other so well, and this network is very well established that if you talk to one person who's just, overlapping just a little on that Venn diagram with somebody else who has that big network, that Rolodex, it really is it's a people game in Vermont. We don't have the luxury of county governments, and so that's why technical assistance is so important, because the people who are managing and seeing to our municipalities' needs are typically volunteers, unpaid volunteers who have regular jobs, and they don't have the time or capacity to do this work effectively without help. So, long answer to a great question.
I would just like to add that there's usually multiple entry points to accessing business services from what I've seen in my time. So they may contact Rick first because they've heard about the Small Business Development Center. They may contact a local town official who probably is a member of our organization would know to reach out to us. And hopefully the communications between our organizations and groups like the North Country Chamber or the Northeast Kingdom Chamber, the downtown organizations, whether it's in Newport or St. Day or Hardwick, they know who we are and they can ask for help. And then we're usually well connected with all state agencies as far as business development. So I think it's just, as long as the communications are good between all these respective entities, which I think they are, no one's going to go left unserved. So, and I'll add that when I went over the state programs, I did provide a lot of detail. It was more of a high-level overview, but I did print out some things that explain each program in more general terms. And I'll leave this on the front table for anybody interested.
Thank you, Dave. Very quickly, we have about 5 minutes, so,
my name is Terry Lucas. I'm from Derby. I'm a little surprised, just backing up to Chet's question and the responses. If you're looking at AI and exposing people to AI, you guys should be the first ones to use AI on your site so that people can navigate this very quickly and easily with a large language model. I'm surprised that you haven't done that already. You revamped your website and you haven't added AI to it. It's a surprising thing that you're going to tell people how AI works, but you've never used it, other than cursory at 10,000 feet.
question, Terry.
Oh, so the question is, when are you going to add AI to the website so that people can navigate that very easily instead of having to watch these slide decks or go through talking to 20, 30 people? I mean, it seems very inefficient in this modern era. So my question is, when are you going to do that?
I wish I could give you a date. It definitely is in the works. I know from an AI perspective. From an AI perspective, our advisors are using it all the time. I always
not just using it, it's you consuming it so that people can use it from your website. It's a very good difference to talk about it at you're really talking about it at 10,000 foot view, not the actual using of it. You can't tell people how to use AI. You haven't actually consumed it yourself on your website to navigate through the system. I mean, it's like me telling you how to do excavating, and I've never run an excavator.
Thank you, Terry. Let him answer his question. Thank you. Well, the website revamp actually started about a year ago, so we've just launched that. We do have a full-time developer. I know AI is on the cards for the website, so it's a progression. Keep in mind, we are a nonprofit as well, so our resources are a little light. We're a small group, so we can't move as quickly as we have aspirations to. That being said, all of our advisors, and we have some senior advisors that are coming up to speed with AI. So we're building our internal capability, and we want to make sure that's solid, because as we all know, there are some security things to think about with AI. You got to protect the data. There's the data privacy element. We don't want to get too far ahead of that, even though this technology is moving so very quickly. And I totally get your point. We want to get it out there and available for folks. We're talking more and more about utilizing it because there's use cases on how small businesses can utilize AI. So it is coming, unfortunately. We're a little bit slower in catching up to the curve. Like I say, we're not exactly where we'd like to be, but it is all work that's in progress. So, not the best answer, but hope you can appreciate where we're at.
Thanks.
Oh, yes. Is there any other quick question?
I'll make it real quick.
Okay.
Maybe. Ryan Pronto, broker owner, Jim Campbell Real Estate. Handle both residential, commercial properties around town. It's called Wake Up Newport. We're wondering about where our taxes are, where our jobs are. Everywhere I go, Lindenville, St. J has a beautiful industrial park. Go to Chittenden County, beautiful industrial park. Newport has an industrial park that's fully built out, or a bunch of extra lots that nobody can do anything with. We had industrial land on Lakemont Road that's rezoned to public health office. What would it take to bring industrial parks back to this area, bring some jobs? We get calls, 5,000, 10,000 square feet needs weekly, and we just don't have it in Newport. Would there be a way to get some entities or some community involvement to get an industrial park back here?
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I'm happy to answer that question. There are programs that can help to establish industrial parks. Usually we would work with a willing community, an interested community, such as Newport or maybe Hardwick or New Park or any other community for that matter. But there's some federal programs. One would be the Northern Border Regional Commission grant, which it's an infrastructure program that you can fund infrastructure development to create an industrial park. The state of Vermont, through the Agency of Commerce, has a program called the Rural Industrial Development Program. It's relatively new. But there you can also use access state funds to purchase land for an industrial park or to put an infrastructure for land that you may already own. NBD is happy to do that. We've actually been thinking about creating another park because we sold our Orleans Park. We had a park up in North Troy that is no longer available, so there is an interest in getting more land, and it's easier when an organization like mine has site control and to help bring businesses in, but we would certainly work with any community on that.
Well, thank you all for the excellent questions and even coming here today. I'd like to also thank the East Side for this excellent food. I'd also like to again thank Casella for sponsoring it. Thank you for the breakfast. I enjoyed it. I'd like to thank Rotary. Oh, yeah. Thank Rotary for the equipment. Todd at NEK-TV, thank you. I'd like to thank Donna and Kate for helping, doing all the heavy lifting. And I'd also like to thank the speakers. Thank you all for coming and taking your time and driving up here this beautiful morning and helping get us this information out to the community. Thank you.